Everyone. It's 9:03. We're going to call this meeting to order, the Flagler County Board of County Commission. This is our regular meeting. It's November 6th, 2023. If you'd all please rise and join me as we salute our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands. And as we always do, I'm going to ask you to join me in a moment of silence where we think about our first responders, our men and women of the firefighters and the sheriff's deputies and our hospital personnel, and those men and women on watch around the world, standing watch to keep us free. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. We've got a couple of deletions today. We're going to delete item 8A and item 2F. 7F, I'm sorry, 7F. Due to stuff beyond our control. Couple of announcements. We're beginning our Flagler County website overhaul and appreciate your input on the current website experience. Your answers will help to make the website easier for everyone to use. This survey will take roughly 5 minutes to complete and can be found at www.flaglercounty.gov on the main page. We look forward to hearing from you and appreciate your honest feedback. County offices will be closed November 10th for Veterans Day. And we're going to have the first annual Veterans Day Parade, Saturday, November 11th at 10 a.m. It's going to start at the historic Coquina City Hall in Bunnell and end up here at the Government Services Building where there'll be a service. We've got a couple vacancies on our boards and councils. We have River to Sea TPO Citizens Advisory Committee. No special qualifications for that, just be a citizen. On the River to Sea TPO Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee Advisory Board, again, we just need a citizen there. And then the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee has 3 vacancies for citizens representatives. Again, no special qualifications, just be a citizen. If you'd like to get further information on that, go to our advisory board vacancies page on www.flaglercounty.gov. Positions are open until they are filled. We've got a couple upcoming meetings. We have a special meeting and executive session today at 1 p.m. And then our next regular meeting will be Monday, November 20th at 5 p.m. We've got a couple proclamations today. The first one is Diabetes Awareness Month, November 2023. Leanne Pennington?
Yep. This is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners recognizing November 14th, 2023 as World Diabetes Day and November 2023 as Diabetes Awareness Month in Flagler County. Whereas the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention report estimates that more than 130 million adults are living with diabetes or pre-diabetes in the United States. Whereas having diabetes elevates the risk of heart disease, amputation, kidney failure, and blindness, causing serious hardship for families across not only our county, but also our state and nation. And whereas diabetes screenings and self-management education will help individuals in the recognition of the symptoms of diabetes and provides an opportunity to follow suggestions for living a quality lifestyle. And whereas the International Diabetes Federation has established November 14th, 2023 as World Diabetes Day to educate citizens on ways to predict if someone is at risk for the disease, to help recognize the symptoms of diabetes, and to follow suggestions for living a quality lifestyle while they endure the affliction. And whereas Flagler County and Advent Health, Palm Coast, together recognize that the growing number of individuals with diabetes in our community make a strong case for devoting more resources to helping to find a cure, provide screenings, education, and support in the required lifestyle changes. And whereas Advent Health Foundation Palm Coast has formed the Diabetes Alliance, this alliance represents Flagler County Health Department, Flagler County's free clinic, Flagler County's EMT teams, many corporate and private citizens that are all dedicated to beating diabetes. And whereas the Alliance will kick off November as diabetes awareness efforts in Flagler County by flying the Alliance flag, hosting events, distributing education materials throughout the county to continue efforts to raise awareness in our community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby recognize November 14th, 2023 as World Diabetes Day, and proclaim November 2023 as Diabetes Awareness Month in Flagler County to increase community awareness of the risk factors and symptoms related to diabetes in order to improve the likelihood that people with diabetes will seek medical attention to avoid the devastating complications of this disease, adopted the 6th day of November 2023 and attested to by Tom Bexley, our Clerk of Court, and our Chair, Gregory Hansen.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Ann. And good morning, Board. My name is Tony Papandrea, and I am Chairman of Advent Health Foundation. And here it is November, and we're going to talk about diabetes. And before I start talking about diabetes, everybody here, just look at the person next to you. Right. You see it? 25% of them are pre-diabetes, and they don't know it. And that's an issue. Diabetes is insidious. And we're talking about type 2 diabetes, which a few words in the proclamation come out and you said lifestyle. You can cure type 2 diabetes by lifestyle. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, the coalition, the Diabetes Alliance, did not exist. And today we have such great cooperation between all the entities that go up into making up this Diabetes Alliance. Today, the free clinic has 300 people who have the monitors and don't have to stick their fingers every day, as does the health department. There's 150 people out there who work with the free clinic who don't have to pay for their insulin. And we also now have a diabetes nurse navigator that gives classes every week. 40 people go. So it is controllable, it is curable, and we urge you to go see your primary care physician, get the necessary testing, and let's beat this thing. I've got John Subers with me today. I got Mel from the health department. I'm going to turn it over to Mel.
Hello, my name is Melody Pierre-Jean, and I work for the Florida Department of Health in Flagler County. I'm a registered dietitian and the program coordinator for the Diabetes Self-Management Education Program. So preventing diabetes-related problems is this year's National Diabetes Month topic. And as we know, diabetes can damage the eyes, kidneys, nerves, heart, and is linked to some forms of cancer. Approximately 1 in 10 Americans, or 37.3 million, suffer with diabetes. Diabetes, with its far-reaching impact, demands our attention and action. I'd like to emphasize how crucial diabetes self-management education programs are to preventing diabetes-related problems. These programs provide a wealth of information, equipping individuals with diabetes with the tools they need to control their health. They empower us to understand our bodies, manage our conditions, and make informed decisions that lead to healthier, more fulfilling lives. Moreover, the diabetes classes play a pivotal role in managing the condition and mitigating potential complications. It's alarming that only 4% of Medicare participants newly diagnosed with diabetes attend a diabetes self-management education course. The information learned in these classes can be pivotal in preventing diabetes complications. Classes teach participants how to properly monitor their blood sugar levels, learn about their medications, modify their diets, engage in regular exercise, and reduce the risk of other health problems. For those who bear the weight of diabetes, attending these programs is not just an option, it's a lifeline. It is a step towards a future where complications are minimized and blood sugar levels are managed effectively. I implore those living with diabetes to embrace the opportunity that these education programs offer. Your active participation is not only a gift to yourself, but also a gift to your loved ones, your community, and a healthier, brighter future. Let us work together as a community to foster a culture of proactive health management. Let us ensure that diabetes self-management education programs are accessible to all who need them, because it is through education and empowerment that we will manage the condition effectively. you have diabetes, please consider attending a class with me at the Florida Department of Health in Flagler County, or at Advent Health, or at the Flagler Free Clinic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, are you talking today? No.
John's not going to talk, but John has the flag, so we can take a picture.
Ah,
Yes.
picture.
See, I told you had your wallet in there.
Sorry.
Now we got it.
Oh, they can see it.
Thank you.
Well,
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the proclamation for Diabetes Awareness Month as November 2023.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to approve Diabetes Awareness Month for November 2023. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes. Our next proclamation is No Shave November 2023. Donnie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't see a whole lot of whiskers on the chief yet, but I guess
Got Hamid here.
it's only the 6th, so. All right, this is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming November 2023 as No Shave November in Flagler County. Whereas cancer has a major impact on society in the United States and across the world. Whereas among American men, other than skin cancer, prostate cancer is the most common diagnosed cancer and the second leading cause of cancer deaths. About 1 man in 41 will die of prostate cancer. Since 2014, the incident rate has increased by 3% per year overall and by about 5% per year for advanced stage prostate cancer. This alone comes to an estimated 288,300 men in the United States that will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and nearly 34,700 men will die from this disease. And whereas 1 in 8 men have a chance of being diagnosed with prostate cancer, and 1 in every 250 males will be diagnosed with testicular cancer, prostate cancer is likely to develop in older men and in non-Hispanic black men. About 6 cases in 10 are diagnosed in men who are 65 or older. The average age of men at diagnosis is about 66. Despite these facts, 90% of prostate cancer is treatable if caught in the early stages. This makes awareness and early detection crucial. Being responsible for your health at every age and always getting your annual health check is a key part of making positive change for men's health. And whereas the No Shave November campaign encourages men to grow a beard for 30 days during the month of November and thereby becoming walking and talking billboards for men's health to raise awareness, encourage conversation about men's health issues, and raise funds for research and programs that combat prostate cancer and testicular cancer. And whereas educating the public and healthcare providers about the importance of healthy lifestyles and early detection of male health problems will result in reducing the rates of mortality from disease. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby proclaim November 2023 as No Shave November and encourage citizens to show their support of men's health initiatives by growing a beard for 30 days. Adopted this 6th day of November 2023, attested to by Tom Bexley, Clerk of the Circuit Court, and signed by our chair, Mr. Gregory Hansen.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. You know, obviously, No Shave November is something that's pretty important to us. And first of all, Commissioner O'Brien, I will tell you that because of my own personal cancer journey and the treatments, I will never grow facial hair again. You know, so cancer is something that's pretty near and dear, you know, to me personally and to us as a department. You've heard the numbers. We consistently have to respond to emergencies that involve patients who day in and day out are suffering from the effects, of cancer and their cancer journeys and treatments. So to think that we can continue as an emergency agency, continue to respond to emergencies, is a challenge. But if we can get on the front end of these things and reduce the risk, and reduce the impact and bring awareness to things like cancer, we think that we can improve the quality of lives of the people that we serve and the community in the world, around us. So we certainly appreciate, your recognition of November as being No Shave November. I can guarantee you that my staff are gladly growing mustaches. I'm just trying to keep them to make sure they stay, within the boundaries. But again, we thank you for your support, and we think this is a great step.
Thank you, Chief. Want a picture or no?
Absolutely.
Oh, come on.
It's coming. Come on up.
Come on around.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the proclamation.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve No Shave November 2023. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes. Our next proclamation is Farm City Week, November 15th through the 22nd, 2023. Mr. Dance.
Thank you. My honor to read this proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming November 15th, 2023 through November 22nd, 2023 as Farm City Week in Flagler County. Whereas Flagler County recognizes that Florida farmers and ranchers help feed the world by producing a bounty of nutritious foods. To do this, they rely on essential partnerships with urban and rural communities to supply, sell, and deliver finished products to consumers across Florida and around the globe. And whereas rural and urban communities working together have built our nation's rich agricultural resources so that they contribute to the health and well-being of our country and the strength of our economy. And whereas during National Farm City Week, we recognize the importance of this cooperative network. Agriculture and related enterprises employ more than 2 million workers, an estimated 12,000 in Flagler County, including farmers and ranchers, shippers, processors, marketers, retailers, inspectors, and others who contribute an annual impact of $146 billion to Florida's economy and an estimated $6 million in gross regional product in Flagler County. And whereas, as they perform their daily work, farmers and ranchers preserve freshwater recharge areas, wildlife habitat, and green space. Consumers help farm families maintain their superior natural resource conservation practices by purchasing Florida's agricultural products. And whereas Farm City Week activities celebrate the mutually beneficial relationships that support the quality of life we all enjoy. This week, as we gather with family and friends around the Thanksgiving table, we count these relationships among our many blessings. And whereas we commend the many Floridians whose hard work and ingenuity provide us with food abundance and reflect the true spirit of our state and nation. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby proclaim November 15th through 22nd, 2023 as Farm City Week in Flagler County. Adopted this 6th day of November, signed by Tom Bexley, Clerk of Court, and our Chair, Commissioner Hanson.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, the floor is yours.
Morning, Nicole Buckles, Flagler County Farm Bureau member and Women's Committee Chair. Thank you for recognizing Flagler County farmers and ranchers. As Thanksgiving and the holiday season quickly approach, this is a time when many Americans gather and reflect upon our many blessings. One of those many blessings is a nutritious and diverse food supply provided by our farmers and ranchers. Flagler County has approximately 79,000 acres of farmland producing commodities like potatoes, broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage, as well as livestock and silviculture products. Flagler County farmers and ranchers account for nearly $14 million of products sold annually and $1.4 million annually in livestock sales. Flagler County Farm Bureau looks forward to continuing to advocate locally, statewide, and on the federal level for our local farmers and ranchers.
Thank you. You want to
Thank
come
you,
up?
Marion.
Come on up here.
Make a motion to approve the Farm City Proclamation.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve Farm City Week, November 15th through the 22nd, 2023. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes. We've got a couple presentations this morning. The first one is the Flagler County Annual Investment Performance Review for the year ended September 30th, 2023. It was requested by Mr. Bexley, and I see him approaching the podium.
Good morning, Board. Tom Bexley, Clerk and Comptroller. I'm here with members of my team from the Comptroller's Office today. Wave team. These are the people that are responsible for making the investments on your behalf, which generates interest income. Florida statute requires that you are updated once a year on how those investments are doing. So I'm going to ask Scott Sweeten with PFM, our longtime financial advisor, to come up and give that report. Scott?
Thank you, Tom.
Good morning, Board. As you can see, I'm already participating in your No Shave November, so I'm glad
Got a
I
head
could
start.
help out there. I'll keep the presentation roughly 10 minutes or under. I'll just give a broad overview on the economy and also the market, and then we'll review the short-term and core portfolios. Just taking a look at the current market themes, for the most part, these have been very relevant for at least the last 2 years. Sorry about that. Stronger than expected growth. The economy remains very strong. I'll touch on the most recent reading for GDP. Inflation, we actually are seeing a nice trend down towards that 2% target range that the Federal Reserve has historically tried to maintain. The labor market continues to be extremely strong. We're probably very familiar with the activity of the Federal Reserve. We've had 2 consecutive pauses by the Fed. For the remainder of the year, there's only a 5% probability that the Fed may raise rates 25 basis points. So they have been very transparent that they're going to allow rates to remain higher for longer. We really probably don't anticipate any rate cuts until the latter part of 2024. I'll review the most recent dot plot. And again, the FOMC looking at GDP growth expectations. We had a very strong third quarter reading in comparison to the second quarter. Again, unemployment and the labor markets remain very strong across the board. So that's allowing the Fed to focus strictly on trying to tame the persistent inflationary pressure. I'll review the markets in general and the volatility. I think we're all well aware the government was downgraded by Fitch. It's not the first time that's happened. Standard & Poor downgraded the government in 2008. Really not that significant. It's just, I think the term was political erosion, which I think from a political standpoint, we certainly understand what that is. Taking a look at CPI, just a quick visual to give you how things have been trending. We peaked around May of 2022, well above the 8% range. You can see the color-coded areas that contribute to the overall CPI number. Not really a surprise. Energy and food would be the predominant contributors there. You can see the steady downtrend currently to where we're at. The most recent reading for September was 3.7%, so still well above the 2% target, but slow and steady. We are trending in that direction. Most of these I'll actually skip. Just to give you a reading on the GDP to show you how robust the economy is. If we look at the bottom portion, the second quarter of 2023, you can see the reading was at 2.1%. The most recent reading that we've had there, actually well over 4%, almost 5%. It came in at 4.9% for the third quarter. So again, that gave the Fed quite a bit of wiggle room to pause rates and kind of see where things lead as we move forward. And as they've stated many times, it's going to be data dependent. So any economic indicators that we have coming out, they're going to monitor those closely, and certainly the labor market in general. This is the most recent Fed dot plot. Each of those dots represents a member of the Federal Reserve. You can see in 2023, really not a lot of disagreement there among the members. They expect rates to remain steady throughout the year. You can see next year, there's a bit of dispersion, disagreement among the members. You can see that there is anticipation to start cutting rates, and that should continue throughout 2025, 2026, as they try to get down to that 2% target range again. Just a quick visual, we're still dealing with an inverted yield curve. So the definition of that is the 2-year Treasury is yielding more than the 10-year Treasury. One indicator that historically has been fairly accurate at is predicting a upcoming recession. That still is up for debate at this point. Just to review the third quarter, even though I realize this is an annual report, but this kind of gives you an idea, just strong numbers across the board. All sectors in the fixed income arena had positive performance within that 1 to 3 year range, which is your benchmark. Looking out longer term, the 10-year average, positive numbers across the board there as well. That's just a quick overview on the market economy. Are there any questions on that portion?
Just one, just things that we all come in contact with. CD rates staying the same, going up, going down?
For the most part, rates are going to stay within the range that they're at right now. Obviously, the Fed has stated that rates will remain higher for longer, but if there is going to be no activity as far as raising rates, we should stay relatively right in the same range, and still, until they start to give an indication that rate cuts may be on the horizon. So on the short end, rates have been very attractive, to say the least. Okay, I'll just jump into the portfolio summary. The overall consolidated summary, as of September 30th, the total assets, $75,961,813. You can see in the upper right quadrant the sector allocation. You're very well diversified across the board. Almost half of the portfolio is in U.S. Treasuries, which that's served us very well. There's been a flight to quality with all of the volatility, the government being downgraded, and so on and so forth. But if we look at the bottom portion, this just shows your maturity distribution. So you can see almost 30% of the portfolio is maturities 30 days or less. So you're extremely liquid, which in this environment, that is ideal. This particular slide is really in reference to compliance. So just a quick visual takeaway. The gray portion of the bar is indicating the maximum levels permitted by your investment policy. The blue shaded region is where you were allocated at the end of September 30th. And again, just a quick visual takeaway. We've got a very healthy buffer between where you're allocated and the limits of your investment policy. So from a compliance standpoint, we're in great shape. The next two slides are really just a great overall bird's eye view of the holdings in the portfolio. You can see the security type, the percentage that each of those comprise of the overall portfolio, and then ratings from S&P, Moody's, and Fitch. Now, taking a look at the short-term portfolio, obviously you can see total market value, $51,103,105. The portfolio effective duration, 0.23 years, so again, roughly less than 30 days. The benchmark effective duration, 0.16 years, so relatively in line with a benchmark. Yield at cost, that's actually what the portfolio was yielding on September 30th, 5.13%, so very attractive. Yield at market would just be reflective of rates in general in the environment that we were in, 5.49. Credit quality, very highly rated, AA. And you can see the sector allocation breakdown in the upper right, agencies, treasuries, and commercial paper. And for the most part, we've already reviewed duration and credit quality. The one area that I'll point out here, just accrued earnings over a 10-year period for the short-term portfolio, a little bit over $7.2 million. And taking a look at the core portfolio, that's going to be a 1 to 3 year strategy. Total market value, $24,858,707. And portfolio effective duration, 1.70 years. The benchmark effective duration, which would be the ICE, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, 1 to 3 year U.S. Treasury Index, that's at 1.75. So you can see we're still taking a bit of a defensive posture in regards to the benchmark. We're able to pick up very attractive yields while not committing ourselves further out on the curve.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes?
Yes, Mr.
So
O'Brien.
as the yield curve starts to flatten out and move out into 24, 25, would you anticipate maybe lengthening out the duration on this side so that we could take
Certainly.
advantage of that and lock that up?
Yeah, that's definitely, we're going to keep an eye on things. I think slowly we'll probably start to approach, I'll refer to it as a neutral stance in regards to the benchmark, where we'll pretty much be, let's just say, 1.75 years. Once we start to get an indication that the Fed may be hinting at or kind of steering towards rate cuts, then we'll start to slowly move the duration a little bit further out just to be ahead of the curve on that.
There's not much you can do on the short-term side. This is where you'd have the most impact on this.
Correct. And it's, I mean, obviously, between the two portfolios, it's a great balance. So it's a great diversification approach. With a short-term portfolio, we're able to take advantage of the very attractive rates in that 12-month and under time frame. And here, again, with a 1 to 3 year strategy, we're able to kind of even out the ebbs and flows and volatility in the market. So from a strategic standpoint, we're in great shape.
Thank you.
Sector allocation, roughly half the portfolio, I think slightly over effective today, but half of the portfolio is in treasuries, asset-backed securities, and corporates. Duration distribution in the bottom, and again, we've already reviewed credit quality, your AA, so again, we're investing for safety, liquidity, and yield. Now, taking a look at performance. In the third quarter, and then I'll review the 12-month period as well, but the portfolio returned a positive 88 basis points. The benchmark was at a positive 74, so we had a healthy outperformance over the benchmark for the third quarter. Over the last 12 months, you can see the portfolio was at a positive 3.04%, and the benchmark was at a positive 2.47. So again, a very healthy outperformance. The one thing I'll point out is if we take a look at interest earned in the third quarter, you can see that was at $192,062. If we extrapolate that forward, I think it puts us roughly around $576,000. So you're going to continue to see, which I think this slide will represent, if we look at interest earned in the fourth quarter of 2022, you can see that was at $112,000. And then in the first quarter of 2023, a very steady increase there. Second quarter of 2023, again, a very healthy increase. And then in the third quarter, yet again, you're seeing the interest earned increasing quite dramatically. That should continue for the foreseeable future, and it will continue to make a significant positive impact in the overall portfolio. From the accrued earnings standpoint, since inception, $438,700. That would pretty much be all the prepared remarks I have. I'll be happy to answer any questions or address any concerns if you have any.
Nothing.
No questions, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Good
Pleasure to be
report.
here.
Thank you. Our next presentation is from the Florida Department of Transportation tentative work plans requested by Mr. Tabazian.
Yes.
Hamid.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Hamid Tabazian, Assistant County Engineer. We are pleased to have the Florida DOT Work Program Management Team with us this morning, and Ms. Catherine Alexander Corbin will provide you with update you on the tentative work program for Flagler County at this time.
Good morning, Board. Kathy Alexander Corbin, Program Management Administrator at District 5, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today to present to you all information about the tentative work program. And what we're discussing today is fiscal years 25 through fiscal year 29, and that would be July 1st of 2024 through June 30th of 29. We build our tentative work program in collaboration with our local partners, our MPOs and DPOs, as well as local regional stakeholders, and we represent project needs in the upcoming 5 years. That could be railway type projects, it could be spaceport, airport, transit, multimodal, as well as roadway improvements that we have planned for the activities of maybe PD&E planning, concepts, design, construction, maintenance, and maybe traffic systems and maintenance and operations as well. So each district develops their tentative work program. It's an annual process. That tentative work program is then combined with the remainder of the districts, and it becomes the statewide tentative work program, and ultimately that is submitted to the state legislature as well as the governor for review and approval. We had our public comment deadline was last Friday. However, we're still taking comments. We do have our website up and comments are welcome. However, the date that you have there is the 3rd. That is what documents it within the public hearing. The submittal of the tentative work program will happen December 26th of 2023. The Florida Transportation Commission also conducts a public hearing on the statewide tentative work program. That is scheduled for January 8th. And then the Florida State Legislation begins 2024 session is January 9th through the 15th, where the tentative work program will be reviewed, ultimately leading to the government adoption of this work program July 1st of next year. There's been some significant influence factors for our tentative work program. Similar to last year when I presented, we were seeing high volatility in costs for our projects and returns for our bids. We're actually moving in a better trend. We're seeing more competition, more than one response, more than 2, sometimes 3 or 4 responses to our project advertisements. So that's a great thing. But what you see here is a glimpse of what we have seen over the last year. For the department, and this is statewide figures. So we had about $363 million in contract price adjustments, and this was to be able to keep the contractors going, the projects that were already out, that were already underway, due to the volatility in construction costs. Some of the factors that were influencing this last year, you had supply chain issues, you also had material and labor shortages, and clearly we've all seen a little bit of it at the inflation over the last year. Each year, the department updates their cost per mile for various type of roadways, and what you see here is just a glimpse of a new construction cost of materials. Typical, this is a 4-lane rural divided highway, and we have gone from $5 million per mile in 2021 to $6.5 million per mile in 22, and continue to see an increase in 23. About a 17% increase in material costs for that cost per mile for new construction. On the resurfacing side, for the same type of roadway, we've gone from $751,000 for cost of material in 21 to $869,000 in 22 to over $1 million in 2023, an increase of almost 27% for our resurfacing cost per mile for materials. And this influences, as we were stating, influences our tentative work program. We have to balance to the allocations and the revenues. That's really the backbone for any program areas and needs that we have when we're developing the tentative work program. Revenue growth and projections are still very conservative. They're very slow growing. In some cases, we haven't had much, like our traffic and revenues have been really, and fuels have been really low. Rental car surcharges is really kind of stagnant. And then dock stamps have actually gone down considering the interest rates and also the delayed kind of stagnant real estate that we're facing right now because of the interest rate. Another significant factor as we were building the tentative work program is our resurfacing program was readjusted this year. The majority of our work program is resurfacing, and we're required by Florida statute to maintain a certain level of quality for our pavement for all of the state highways. And that really caused our allocation formula as well as the lane miles to be readjusted throughout the state for all the districts. For District 5, we actually gained more miles that we had to maintain at a certain level and also adjusted our formula of what we were receiving for those lane miles. So we had to make an adjustment to our resurfacing project where we really went back and refocused to the integrity of the payment since that is the core asset. Typically, we would add additional items to our resurfacing jobs because they're coming through every 15, 18 years. And we'd really had to take a look at what can we add, recognizing we're restricted by funding. And so there's really a focus on priority needs for the resurfacing jobs as well as any additional components that get added to those projects. Another significant effort this year as we were building the tentative work program is getting back to conservative contingency levels that have been critically low over the last 2 years. In some cases, we were only receiving single bids and significantly high costs for our projects. So we had the opportunity to be able to hold and reserve a contingency level that's more aligned with what we were seeing as increases. Understanding that we're still seeing increases, we need to be able to maintain these projects going, so we really built in contingency levels in the upcoming 5 years that can absorb some of those increases that we were seeing. And we did all of this with balancing the needs for our local partners. What you see here is the FDOT compass, always taking into account that communities are at the core of our projects. Safety is important as well, so we need to balance that against what we have in terms of allocation of revenues to support the work program. We want to make sure that we harden our resiliency. We continue to build our supply chain for the state so we can continue to grow economically. We want to leverage technology wherever we can on our projects, and as well as develop our workforce. Here's a breakdown for the programming that we have planned in the upcoming 5 years for Flagler, both within and outside of the TPO across the 5 years. So for Flagler County outside of the TPO limits, we're talking over $37.5 million in the upcoming 5 years. And for Flagler within the TPO, close to $48 million. So overall for the county, we're looking at $85.5 million planned in the upcoming 5 years. And this does include all of the funding, so it would be federal, state, as well as local funds that's programmed in our projects. If we break this down a little bit further for the type of projects that we have planned in the upcoming 5 years, fiscal years 25 through 29, you see the capacity here. This would be the widening, adding more vehicles to a roadway. We have a total of about $6.8 million for the region. Our preservation, this would be like our resurfacing program, as well as our bridge repairs and rehabilitation type projects. There's over $60 million program in the upcoming 5 years. Multimodal, this would be your airports, transit, other items that also support roadways. We're looking at a little bit over $11 million for Flagler County. Operations is low. This would be anything like traffic lights, signals, those kind of things that support traffic clearly. And it's about a little bit over $95,000 in the upcoming 5 years. Bike trails, pedestrian type improvements and projects, close to $3.5 million. And then miscellaneous is basically a catch-all, nothing that is above that. This could be isolated, maybe drainage improvements or some kind of specific maintenance type project. And we have over $3.5 million program in the upcoming 5 years. So we'll just highlight a few of the projects that were new, introduced into the work program this cycle. We have a significant resurfacing project. This is about 17 miles, State Road 100, State Road 20 from Putnam County Road to west of US 1. The design for this is the first year of the work program, which is fiscal year 25, and then construction 2 years later, and the total for that project is over $19 million. Here we have one of our bridge replacement projects. This is Pellicer Creek US 1 over Pellicer Creek River. This is a replacement project. There is right-of-way in this project. That's in the first year of the tentative, and construction is the following year, second year, 26, close to $13.5 million. And then we have a bike path, a trail project that was programmed this cycle. This is the design for the Graham Swamp Trail from Lehigh Trail to Graham Swamp, through the Graham Swamp Conservation Area. This is designed in the first year, and it's about $684,000. There are 3 additional priority projects that we have funded within our tentative 5 years, over $4.5 million. And we do want to provide information. There are other funding opportunities. There's grant opportunities that are out there. Here you see a couple of them that have been supported through the Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act. Protect is a resiliency type, a competitive grant opportunity. Mega projects is for really large projects, and infrastructure, which is large projects and rail. And then also the Safe Streets and Roads for All. These are all grants that the department supports if they were to pursue that kind of a funding. FDOT would provide a letter of consistency if interested in pursuing those avenues. And the contact person for that would be Alice Giuliani at District 5. And that concludes my presentation, so I'll be glad to answer any questions.
When will the whole county become the TPO? And we voted on that a couple of months ago.
It was voted at the TPO this past 2 weeks ago.
Right. So, but it's not reflected in this.
I don't think they've
No, this was,
to update their presentation yet.
Yeah.
yeah, this was all done prior to that, so I think that's all getting
Next time we see
formalized.
it, it'll be
Absolutely.
all in TPO.
Right.
Okay.
And Hamid has already been coordinating with us on what that means for the future intake of projects for the next cycle.
Thank you. Any other questions, gentlemen?
I had one question.
Yes, Don.
Could you go back, like, it might be slide 5. So, yeah, wait, the 5, yes, I think that's it. So what would be helpful is to see some sort of a trend line here. So what I'm trying to get at is, okay, so we know it looks like over 5 years we're at $85 million, but you just told us before that we had significant cost increases. So, you know, if you discount that by 15%, 20%, whatever the number is, I'd like to know, you know, are we spending or are we allocating more funds than we did 5 years ago? Or, you know, what's the trend look like? I can't really tell that from these numbers.
Okay. Yeah, we could certainly pull that for you and provide kind of give you that exhibit that tells you how much we have programmed and the cost increases for Flagler County and how that's reflected in the tentative.
Yeah, and I wanted to compare that to the past to see, you know, so in, say, 2018, between 2018 and 2022, I could see what was allocated
Absolutely.
and spent and then what we're projecting, because I don't know if we're going backwards or forwards or whatever at $85 million. Doesn't really tell me a whole lot, given the fact that we've had massive cost increases
Absolutely. We
last
can
few
pull
years.
that. We have the historical information to see what has been programmed for the county and be able to share that with you. Clearly, with the cost increases that we have made decisions on which projects can move forward and which ones cannot. However, what ends up happening is we'll make every attempt to reduce the scope of the project and still put the project out for the core purpose of that project. That's why you're seeing a lot of these resurfacing jobs. We need to be able to maintain that asset, so those projects are still going to continue on with that core purpose. We're just going to limit some of the non-priority added items to it. But we could get that information for you.
The other question I had is on the contingency budgeting. If I'm, again, I apologize about my terminology if I'm not using your terminology, but.
That's fine.
Do you feel that you're kind of caught up on that now in terms of what to set aside for contingencies? Because I know we had a shock to the system from COVID on, and that wasn't really there. So
Right.
now you've adjusted that in your programming
Right.
dollars. So are you pretty much?
Yes, we are required when we build a tentative work program to maintain a certain percentage of contingency, and it varies from the first 2 years, because those are the 2 critical years when the jobs are coming closer to construction, to the latter 3 years. We are actually at the minimum required for our tentative work program, which is about 9.5% for those first 2 years coming up. In the last couple of years, we were actually dipping down into less than 5% for our contingency, which is really worrisome because it could just take one bid that could blow that out of the water. So yeah, so we are maintaining our minimum requirements, and every opportunity we have where we have some excess bid results, that's going right back into our contingency, which seems to be the trend here lately for this year in '23.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Dave.
Just a couple of questions. Money inside, FDOT money inside the TPO and outside. The outside the TPO still is all FDOT money that we're showing here.
The funding that you see here is everything. It's federal, state, and local funds. So it's everything that we
It is in
have.
addition to FDOT funds?
Yes, this includes FDOT. It includes your federal, your state, and your local funds that we have programmed.
Okay, and then the other question is, for instance, with all the problems we've had along the shoreline with A1A, it seems to me there's money allocated special because of hurricane damage and things like that, including road structure, road resurfacing, things like that. Is that in that number we see there, or is that
Yeah,
separate?
for instance, A1A is going to get completely repaved over in Flagler Beach. Is that in this number?
If that is tied to the A1A project, the emergency repair, that is separate funding than what
Separate
is this. And if I'm not
I was
mistaken.
wondering, because there isn't enough.
It's a good question. Yeah.
Yes, no, that is repair funding for that work, so that is not reflected here. What you see here is that actually has protect funding, which is the resiliency funding for current year, so that number is not reflected in the tentative work program.
And I suppose also when they build their secant seawalls, FDOT
That is
does,
separate.
that's different, that's also
That is
separate,
separate.
not in here.
Okay.
Yep, that is
okay.
separate.
That's what I was saying, because, just.
Yeah, 'cause that's a
Yes,
lot of
that is
money.
a separate
That's a lot of
funding
money.
source. This is,
Right.
yes, this is
A lot.
outside. And I will say, and I forgot to mention this at the end, we do have the information here for the work program public hearing. So you could go out to the website and actually view through GIS map as well as reports for Flagler County and see all of the programming. We just highlighted what was new and was significant based on dollar figures. But if you go to the website, you can definitely find a lot more information about everything that is programmed.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have community outreach. This 30-minute time period has been allocated for public comment on any consent agenda item or topic not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium, identify themselves, and direct comments to the chair. The podium is now open.
Good morning, Brother Chair. Excuse me. Daisy Henry, pastor. I live at 503 East Drain Street in Bunnell. And I have a couple of questions that I'd like to ask. I had asked the time before about the bathrooms, and they said they were on by the Carver Gym. And they said it was on the list. And it's been a minute, and there still hasn't been anything done. Okay, now, also, that I wrote y'all a letter. I wrote the county, the city, And the school board a letter sometime stating my interest about concerns about the south side, nobody's but mine. And the way that I felt that was that we were left out in a lot of areas, and we were set aside. And the questions and asking, things that we see that need to be done is not being done. And there's an uproar about the Carver Center, and the addition has been there for a minute, and there's still no certificate of occupancy. Now, for the time, it's been a year, I believe, and they say something about LPL through the grapevine, and now we need to know the truth. What is the holdup on the occupying the new addition? It's not, I mean, they said that LPL had a piece or something, but LPL is a big company, and they stockpile any material that they need so they won't run out in disaster what area. So people are not stupid. So then we basically looking at for foundation. Any organization that's based on lies is going to crumble. So we need to get the community involved. And in the LIA, there's a lot of discrepancies and whatever. And I see where you had Mr. Josie, Eric Josie on it. And he sent y'all a copy. And he sent me one. Wait, it's up here. Wait. He might not have got it. But anyway, in the proposal, he was asking about, from the Attorney General, the statement about the ILA through the PAL program. And he was waiting for a response. He talked to me Saturday. There's no response from anybody about the LIA getting specific information from the state attorney. And I have a copy of it here, and he said it affects some of y'all. But we need to get some understanding. The Carver Gym is a jewel in our community, and a lot of things are on hold, and we want to know why. And I want to know why. I get asked a lot of questions, but I can't answer them because I'm not on the board. And I just like, to get some answers back to the community or who, through a school board or whatever, but it's in your court. Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy. Next speaker.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Robin Paletta, Halifax Plantation. I just had a couple questions on the consent agenda, item 7D. I was wondering if you could answer some questions in terms of the amount for this resiliency program for Northeast Florida Regional Council and the grant, and what federal monies are being used to fund this. I think it's a wonderful thing. I'm just curious, looking for a little background information. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Next speaker.
Hi, Denise Calderwood, Palm Coast, Florida. First of all, I want to actually thank Heidi Petito and Jose, Salinas, for the donation of the van for the Historical Society and the County Commissioners. Finally, something has happened right, and it's taken a long time and hard work, and so I appreciate that happening. However, to add injury to insult, I get a phone call a week ago when I'm in the ICU with a person who stood up for the Carver Gym 11 years ago, to try to save it, a one-man show, and that was Pastor, Sims Jones, okay? And so the fact that, Pastor Henry, is speaking on the issue again, is still ridiculous. But that's just historical for Flagler County. And why I'm upset, and I wasn't even planning to be here to speak, outside of saying thank you to you all. However, I get a call from a person, I guess, who's on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Flagler County's own Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, asking me if I can use my unofficial bus that's still not on the road yet because of an air conditioning problem, to take a tour, to take Flagler County's own advisory board on a tour of Flagler County's own parks, because they don't know all the parks. County commissioners and, county administrator, I don't understand how we have all those buses sitting there, okay? And it's ridiculous that your own Parks and Recreation Advisory Board called me and asked me to take them on a tour of all the county parks. Okay, I guess I should feel honored that they feel safe enough to drive in that bus. And you're laughing, Commissioner Sullivan. It's still not even fully officially on the road yet because of the air conditioning problem. But thank you very much for the donation to the bus, the van, okay? But you did give away those 2 other buses. And if they were in any shape like that van was, then that should be on the road to the community to use. If your Department of Transportation, you're still smiling. I'm sorry. Your county transportation disadvantage can't use those buses to take people on recreation trips. I mean that's the most ironic thing. Thank you.
Next speaker. Seeing no one else approach, I'll close out the public comment.
If I could just provide a little clarification on the Carver Center. We've been meeting regularly with the panel of folks that have been designated to meet that represent the different entities. We also opened it up to 2 people from the community as part of that community outreach. So we have been meeting most recently. I think our last meeting was on October maybe 25th, 26th. We continue to meet on a regular basis. There was some, I think, confusion with the correlation between the Flagler Sheriff's Office and the PAL, Police Athletic League, where maybe one person didn't realize that they are police officers, that they are associated, that there is a connection between PAL and the sheriff. As far as clarification with who the partners are, as part of that interlocal, it's not listed as PAL, it's listed as the Flagler Sheriff's Office. I'm not sure, and I know that Sean and I had attended parts of the last meeting. I had a conflict, so I know I had to leave early, and I know Sean had to leave as well. Unfortunately, Jorge's not here for me to ask, but there was a comment made about whether or not there was an Attorney General opinion needed. We did not feel that that was necessary, that it is not the role of the state attorneys general to provide that input in what the question was, that it was something that would be handled internally through our own legal office. The comment about the FPL, what's the issue? Unfortunately, we are at the mercy of FPL in order to get power restored or hooked up completely. They've been waiting on what's known as a CT or a current transformer to make that power fully operational. It's been months. We were told as recently as last week it was supposed to be here Friday. We don't know if it showed up. I know Mike Dixon has reached out to FPL today to see if we received that and when can we expect full power. It is needed in order to get a CO. So I just wanted to provide that to you. The issue with the bus, I'm not aware of staff contacting Ms. Calderwood about utilizing the bus. It's possible that maybe a board member did and maybe they don't know the process. I know that we are limited on the utilization of our buses because they are for transportation disadvantaged folks, so it does come with some constraints. We cannot use them as charter service because it would go against our funding and our FDOT requirements. But certainly I'll look into that. I know we've used them for county purposes, but it's probably depends on what bus or what type of equipment we're using because, again, we don't want to take away from the funding that we receive either through FDOT or Commission for Transportation Disadvantage. So I just wanted to provide that in case you have any questions.
Yeah, I'd recommend, could you get a hold of the Parks and Rec people and, if they need a bus, lease them a bus?
The department director wasn't aware of this until just now, so he's already reached out to the park manager to ascertain what it was in reference to. So at staff level, we're not aware of it.
And then an update on the bathrooms at Carver.
It was maybe part of the capital plan. I don't believe it's funded this year, but it is on the unfunded list.
Okay.
We continue to go after grants, so it's definitely something on our radar.
Okay, thank you. All right, commissioners, any comments on the consent items, short of pulling them?
None.
I would just say,
None for me.
Mr. Sullivan, none? Mr. Dance?
the one item that Ms. Paletta referenced the agenda, detailed agenda item does have a breakdown of the grants on there. I don't know if there was anything else that was
In the
needed,
backup.
but there's, in the backup. But not on the single sheet, but in the backup online.
Is that good enough? All right. Thank you, Andy.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Leanne? Nothing? Donnie? Nothing? Good. Then we'll proceed with the consent items. So Commissioners, any items that you'd like to pull? Mr. Sullivan?
None?
Mr. Dance?
None.
Ms. Pennington?
None.
Mr. O'Brien?
None.
And I have none. There I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve the consent agenda as published.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as published, which I will comment that 7F was removed.
Right, I was going to clarify
Yeah,
that.
forgot about that, sorry. Yeah.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes. There's no general business today, and there are no public hearings today, so we'll proceed to the county administrator comments.
Thank you. Just a few things. As a follow-up to the previous board action, we did reach out to members of some of our committees that were either non-electors or non-homesteaded property owners. We did hear back from 2 of them that were requesting consideration by the board to waive the requirements. Recognizing that we do have a tentative workshop and a board meeting scheduled for November 20th. I didn't know, I was looking for direction from the board as to your preference on how you want to process this. Would you rather do it at the workshop prior to the evening board meeting, or would you rather have it done at the board meeting?
Commissioners, any preference on this?
Workshop?
Workshop?
Workshop.
Yeah, workshop. Workshop.
Workshop.
Donnie? Workshop? All right, workshop.
Okay, thank you. And just to let you know, some of you may have seen the request through Northeast Florida Regional Council. They were looking for nominations, 2 people within the region for projects in 2023 in certain categories. We did submit 3 submissions. The first one was related to engineering, the Graham Swamp State Road 100 pedestrian bridge. That was submitted under the category for improving quality of transportation options within the region. The second one that we submitted was the libraries initiative, the Food for Thought kiosks, which provide books and non-perishable foods to folks in unincorporated Flagler County. That was under the category of improving quality of life. And then fire rescue's collaboration with Flagler Cares, the Open Arms Recovery, and the Outreach Community Care Network. And that is for the participation in what's known as the CORE program, or the Coordinated Opioid Recovery Initiative, where it provides whole person care for those suffering from opioid use disorders. And that one was submitted under the category of enhancing capability of healthcare system response to emergencies. So just to let you know, we did submit 3 of those last week. And I wanted to give you an update on our opioid settlement funds. Last week, myself, the county attorney's office, SMA, and LSF, which is your Lutheran Services health system, we had a conversation where we were made aware that the first allotment of opioid settlement money has come available to Flagler County. The first allotment is $662,000. The funding needs to be spent by the end of June 2024, and it has to be in alignment with the opioid settlement agreement. So we are moving forward with coming up with a way for SMA to utilize those funding with the Lutheran Services. So we anticipate some sort of a structure, interlocal agreement on how they're going to be able to use that money by the end of June. We'll likely, if they're not able to spend it by the end of June, we'll ask legislature for their consideration in changing maybe the language that would allow us to use any intended but unspent funding to remain available for the following year. But we'll know more as that continues to move forward. And then last Thursday, on November 2nd, we attended the 3rd Annual 5-Year Capital Improvement Program Summit. It's an opportunity where we come together with our municipal partners, our cities, to talk about our priority projects for the upcoming year as well as that 5-year plan, and to look for grant and funding alignment and opportunities to work together for the betterment of the community. So that was our 3rd annual summit, and it was really, really a good opportunity to come together and see how we can work better for everybody. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Sean, County Attorney's report.
Thank you, Chairman. We will be bringing back the PACE item at a later date. It's a very dynamic situation with a lot of action and things are in flux, so it just wasn't the right time. Separately, I was hoping that we could get the consensus of the board today. This is in regards to the city of Ormond Beach filing a lawsuit against Flagler County over the county's obtaining of an easement within the jurisdiction of Ormond Beach. This easement allows us to access approximately 2,000 acres of conservation lands and to conduct land management activities on that land. Mr. Mengel and I attended a hearing, a special meeting of the city of Ormond Beach on October 25th. And we attempted to address their concerns, which from what we gathered in the newspaper was that we may one day build a highway through their conservation lands on this easement. We went there to assure them that that was not our intent and that we'd be willing to enter into some type of an agreement or somehow restrict our use of that easement area to what we actually use it for to manage our lands. The City Commission did not address our comments, did not do much to acknowledge what we said, and went ahead to vote to find the developer, U.S. Capital Alliance, in non-compliance with the development order, and also dragging the county into it over this easement. And since that time, the city filed the lawsuit. It came as a great surprise to us because at that city commission meeting on the 25th, what they voted on was to give Flagler County and the developer 60 days to deal with the issue, to address their concerns. And that's the resolution they adopted. And then, however, without telling us, 2 days later, they filed a lawsuit. So they didn't give us the 60 days, and they filed the lawsuit. We have not yet been served with the papers, but in Florida, the legislature doesn't want governments suing each other because the taxpayers end up paying on both sides. And Chapter 164 of the Florida statutes is the Governmental Conflict Resolution Act. The city is required to go through the procedures of this act before filing the lawsuit, and they did not do that. The only way around the procedures is if they were to find an immediate threat to health, safety, and welfare or their legal interests, and to make that finding on the record, which they did not do. What we would like from you today is to allow us to bring a resolution forward at your next meeting so that we in Flagler County can invoke this Dispute Resolution Act. And so the resolution would be the first step that triggers the act, and then a series of timelines follow where we send the city a letter via certified mail letting them know what the issues are. We would schedule a meeting between the Ms. Petito and Ms. Shanahan and whoever else would be relevant. It is open to the public. This is a public type of mediation. And then we would try to reach some type of settlement from there. And it could potentially end up leading to a joint meeting of this county commission and the Ormond Beach City Council. And if all of that fails, then we would resort back to litigating. But obviously, we hope to avoid that. We think this is entirely avoidable. The city has not been very conversant with us, aside from letting us know that they object. We feel like there must be more to the story than they're telling us. We learned more from the newspaper report than we did from speaking with them. And we still don't know the full story. And so we're hoping if we're forced to engage in this process where both sides, under the law, have to negotiate in good faith. You have to be open and candid. We're hoping that that would allow us to resolve this issue. So in order to move that along, we would ask for your consensus to bring a resolution on the 20th to this commission to invoke the Governmental Dispute Resolution Act. And as you can imagine, there's a lot to this. There's a lot of background facts and information. I'm happy to answer any questions, but that's kind of the 30,000-foot view.
Commissioners, any questions? Dave?
Just listening to what you've said, is it possible that may not be necessary if you can work some agreement in the meantime? Or is it pretty much locked in that we'll have to do this resolution?
We attempted to avoid this, but at this point, it's unavoidable because they've gone ahead and filed the lawsuit, and they're not engaging with us much by way of conversation.
Andy?
So well, my first comment is following statute is good. So if that's what it takes to follow statute, and this would kind of put a halt on their lawsuit then? How does that work
Yes,
with
it
them
would have.
have already filed?
Correct, Commissioner. Once we invoke the procedure by adopting a resolution, we would then file a motion in the court letting them know, we've passed this resolution, we've communicated it to the city of Ormond Beach, and the court would enter an order abating the court proceedings until the procedures of the act are followed.
Okay. It's a couple of other things. Some of the, so we don't even know if some of the solutions that you've talked about, restrictive language for the easement, are even palatable yet. We don't have any idea.
No, other than the city commission didn't take us up on that discussion. They didn't address it one way or the other. They just went ahead and adopted the resolution finding the developer and the county out of compliance.
And what is the status of utilities? How does this affect utilities for the projects that have been approved through the commission?
My understanding from some emails is that they've already begun to deny permits. The developer and their counsel is in the chambers here today. They might have more information than I do, but their intent is to cut off water and sewer for any new developments. Now, things that are already vested, my understanding is they will honor those commitments, but anything going forward would be halted.
Well, the entire DRI is vested, is it not?
Not as to water and sewer. There are individual retail service agreements as subdivisions come online.
Okay. And that would be separate action from between the city and the developer, or are we tied into that?
We
too?
have an interlocal with the city of Ormond Beach, allowing them to provide that service in our jurisdiction under the understanding that they would. And then based on that authorization, the city enters into the retail service agreement directly with the developer as those subdivisions come online.
Okay, thank you.
If they, sorry.
Don, go ahead.
If they don't perform under a retail services agreement, isn't that a breach of contract?
Yes, that would be a breach between the developer and the city. We also feel that it's a violation of our interlocal to cut off the water in this way.
Well, I agree with, I'm sorry for going past you, but I absolutely agree we should take the path that Sean has recommended. It's kind of sad. It almost seems like there's, never mind, I'm gonna leave that alone.
Ms. Bennington? You're good with doing it this way? All right. Andy?
No, I'm good.
I'm good.
Yep.
Am I?
Approved.
So am I.
Okay,
Proceed.
we'll bring you a resolution. Thank you, Chair. That's all I have.
Okay. Excuse me, this is our next community outreach period. Again, it's a 30-minute time period allocated for public comment for items not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium, identify themselves, and direct comments to the chair. Yeah.
Once again, Brother Chair, Daisy Henry, I live at 503 East Strange Street, and I'm not here to argue about what happened about the ILA, but Mr. Josie, Eric Josie, he sent a CC2 on October 27th to the boards and all the the school board and the county. So I don't know whether you got it or not, but it was October 27th that he CC'd this to you. And then he CC'd me. And the comment that he was most concerned about was the Florida Statute 163.0. And the state here, the Florida statute known as the Florida Interlocal Corporation Act of 1969 authorizes local governmental units to make the most effort using their powers, enabling them to cooperate on a basis mutual advance, thereby providing service and facility in a manner to pursue the form of governmental organization that will accord best to geographic, economic, population, or other factors influence the need and the development of the local communities. Okay, then the rebuttal that he had was, as I recognize the county board, home rule of priorities power to provide, maintain, and license use of the county building, and the county is to permit a contract service to PAL through the Flagler County Sheriff Office in a traditional written contract, lease, or other type of written agreement is assertion to the county his arbitrary powers to do so in the ILA, contrary to the legislative authority of the Florida Statute 163, which solely concerns LIA. Only thing he wanted to do was hear a response from the county attorney that he should think that he should get approval from the state attorney on the ILAs, where PAL does not have the right to make an agreement with you as an entity, but the sheriff department does, and he haven't got any response. So check your email for this, and he has a lot of rebuttal in this that need to be addressed concerning that Carver Gym. The black community doesn't have anything to say, and I think that's wrong. And last time before you, I asked a question about community input. We are taxpayers, and we do have some right. What about our in-kind service? If you were to pay every volunteer for the money time that they spent, you'll be out a lot of money. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Henry. Next speaker.
Denise Calderwood, Palm Coast, Florida. County Chair, I want to thank you for allowing the county administrator to talk openly, I guess, about the opioid money that's finally been addressed publicly for the first time, to my knowledge. I am extremely upset about it. Over a month and a half ago, I contacted County Attorney Al Hadid and asked him specifically how Flagler County was going to be handling that money coming to our community, because I felt that there needed to be accountability. LSF and SMA are two big, massive organizations, and you have a very difficult time as a small not-for-profit who cares about Flagler County. Just as a simple example of following up what Pastor Henry just said, the small not-for-profits who are actually doing the job as the grassroots and getting the community coming forward with their hard-earned dollars as opposed to the state dollars and the grant dollars, and where all this fraud that's happening all across the state, including 50 deputies getting arrested. Maybe that's what needs to just happen in Flagler County, just one person just to be looked at, okay? Because these agreements, these relationships, they're all shady, okay? They are not done in the open. That opioid money, 20 years ago, 1998, I was responsible for the tobacco settlement for Flagler County. Did it through the health department. We did it openly and honestly, okay, and gave every not-for-profit that was here and churches the opportunity to go after some of that money so that they can follow their true mission and get the job done on the boots. And this is not happening with SMA. We had the highest suicide rate in the state for 5 years. Finally, they opened up the SMA building after we lost the child safety center that was there before, the Sally Safe Haven that we named after a county staff that was only here for a short period of time. And now that's gone. and we have to go backwards and meet at the library to share those abuse, cases again. So this is what we're doing in Flagler County. Open your eyes. Try to hold people accountable. If not, then we'll have to do it with lawsuits, okay? I asked specifically the county attorney. He says, oh, well, we're looking into it. We have 67 counties in the state of Florida. 66 of them are choosing to give them up to grants to not-for-profits and not just, open it up as a fair process. And that's the same thing that I hear Pastor Henry saying. What is fair? The Police Athletic League, as a founder of that, I signed the paperwork. They are a not-for-profit 501c3, just like other not-for-profits, like the Red Cross. The point is, they don't have any special attachment to the sheriff's department. Whatever, the sheriff is supposed to be giving out grants as well to other not-for-profits. That's just standard, okay? Open it up. Be honest and open about the money and not keep it secretive. We have an opioid problem. We have a housing problem. We have a mental ill problem here in Flagler County. And SMA is the only service provider who was here for all those years. And we want to give them another $665,000? Thank you.
Next speaker. Seeing no one approach, I'll close community outreach. Commissioners, it's your time to shine. Mr. Sullivan.
Yeah, just a couple of things. Last week, because FC3, the Flagler County Cultural Council, is now taking over the turtle that we dedicate every once in a while. We had two of them, two dedicated last week. Those will be the last ones that are done. One was named Grant in back of the city offices around the lake, and the other one was named Remoir, was at the Interstate Bank building. Both were well attended, and we are trying to promote arts in the county, and that's one of the major things we do with those turtle dedications. From now on, that whole operation will be handled by FC3. There is a disadvantaged since this has come up a couple of times here locally, we do have a disadvantaged transportation committee meeting here Wednesday, November 8th, third floor, at 10 o'clock. So those who are interested in that subject, we have those meetings on a regular basis in coordination with the Northeast Florida Regional Council. And I guess my last question is, since we've had a number of discussions concerning the ILA and the George Washington Carver Center, the status, it looks like it's hung up now on this PAL issue. Is that, is it or isn't it? And is there a schedule coming forward on that ILA?
We've been, just so you know, we've been meeting on a regular basis, but I'll have Sean provide you from legal, his standpoint on where we're at with it.
Yes, I attended the last meeting of the committee, and I had to leave early for that Ormond Beach meeting, so I didn't hear the end, if anything was worked out, but I see that we do have another meeting coming up. I did want to address Ms. Henry's concerns. She was referring to an issue raised by a Mr. Josie, who is one of the community reps on the committee. And I did respond to Mr. Josie, actually, at the meeting. And I did some work on the agreement to restructure it. The agreement that he looked at was something that was in a very early draft before it came to our office. And he was saying, hey, wait a minute, you can't have an interlocal with a nonprofit. And that, in and of itself, is a correct statement. But the interlocal agreement is with the sheriff's office and the school board. We are allowed to utilize nonprofit entities, and we are allowed to enter into facility use agreements with, and they can take all sorts of shapes and structures, anything, almost anything that your imagination could conceive. So the agreement will be perfectly legal. It'll be signed off on by our office, the school board attorney, and the sheriff's attorney are all going to sign that document. It is perfectly legal. And the issue of its legality is really a distraction. And what we really have to focus on, as far as I could tell from the single meeting that I attended, was how the gymnasium floor would be shared and the scheduling of its use would be handled. That was really the crux of where the last remaining issues are that have to be resolved. And I don't know the outcome, the end of that meeting, as I had to leave, but we do have another one upcoming.
Okay. I mean, but we don't know, you can't give me a date. Like, we intend to sign this off before the end of the year.
I can't give you a date at this time.
Is there still the issue of PAL is going to charge the kids?
No, it'll be open to all kids without regard to their ability to pay. The school board will have dedicated use of a certain portion of the facility. The sheriff's office and PAL will have another portion of the facility, and then the gymnasium floor is a shared space. And so the last remaining debate is kind of like, how do we schedule the shared space, and how far out in advance do we have to reserve it? And does anybody have first priority? Those were the sorts of things that were being worked on when I had to leave the room.
Thank you.
And just so you know, our next meeting on this is this Wednesday, the 8th. So we have an upcoming meeting this week to continue to talk about it. So it is moving forward.
Mr. Dance.
Thank you. Just a few things. When we had the Farm to City proclamation, forgot to mention that as it was presented by the Flagler County Farm Bureau, anybody can be a member of the Farm Bureau, and I recommend that you go to the website. It's very inexpensive to become a member for a year, and it helps our community and what they do, and all the workings with the state, and a larger subscription, a larger base for them is important. So pushing to become a member. So I hope that the rest of us can look at that, and for the rest of the community, support our farming community, become a member. We did, with the DOT presentation, we talked that the River to Sea TPO board did approve us, and the new boundary will be the entire county. So that was approved unanimously at the last board meeting. And just, there's so many things going on this time of year, but wanted to give a shout out to Commissioner Pennington for her leading of the West Side Fall Festival, which, and then thanks to staff for supporting her activity out there. But it was a blast, and a lot of good attendance. So congrats on that. That was nice.
Ms. Pennington.
I was going to bring up a big thank you to staff, Mike Dixon, Holly Albanese, Mike Lagasse, Jonathan Lord, many others, Bruno, all of the, Matt Rivera and his wife, all volunteered their time to come out there in our community. PAL brought bounce houses, they paid for Kona Ice, and we had close to 400 children come out.
That's good.
And so
Cool.
they could do something within their community instead of having to drive to others to trick or treat. So it was very nice, thank you.
Good. Well done. Mr. O'Brien?
I just wanted to push back on the comments made about the opioid settlement and our discussion of that. It's my recollection that we had more than one public discussion on how to utilize those funds when they were awarded or granted to us, and we made the determination that SMA would be the direction that we would go. So we were never, there was no secret dealings about this. There was no backroom discussions. We've known that for a very long time. It's well over a year that we've known that was the direction that we were going to go. And I find it incredulous that someone would think that 66 other counties would do things differently than us and do all individual grants for that money. That would be a administrative nightmare to try to do that. And we know the experience we had trying to do a mini version of that during COVID. I just wanted to add those comments, and that's about all.
I agree. I discount the whole comment when someone accuses us of graft and misdoing, so I just discount the whole comment. Mr. Dance and I attended the White Table Service at the library. It was really well done. The NROTC from, or AFROTC from Embry-Riddle performed it again, and they did a wonderful job. I encourage people to go to that. It's done every year at our library, and it's really a moving ceremony. It lasts about 10 minutes. Yeah, it's very short. About 10 minutes, very short, but it's worth attending. And the turtle unveilings, that was good. Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Dance and I attended both of them. Those are always good, and the tradition will continue under FC3. We'll just keep putting turtles out there. Great. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Sir, if I could, just one comment about the opioid. I just wanted to comment on the availability of funding. So there is numerous pots of money. So our money comes through LSF, but there was also money through the state that goes through DCF. It's my understanding, based on the conversation that we had with the folks last week, that the nonprofit community members that we have here, there is an opportunity for them to apply for grants through DCF. We had asked the folks at LSF if they could share that information with us. Once we have that, we can certainly email ORS, Carrie Baird and her group. So it's not that there isn't additional funding out there. This allocation was intended for government and how they provided it to their provider within their community. I just wanted to clarify that because there is an opportunity through that program that they can apply for grants, not through the county, but through DCF.
Yeah, and I'll point out that the individual making that allegation that we're not doing it correctly has left the room. Oh, you're hiding back there. Well, I hope you got, please be quiet. So anyway, I'll move and entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned. Thank you.